5th, 2022 to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to begin by introducing the speakers for tonight. We have Councillor Jay Edwards that represents the Tiverton Town Council tonight, our Council President DeMedeiros, and our Council Vice President Burke is unavailable. Also, I'd like to introduce to my right Town Administrator Carter. He will be presenting the Budget Committee's budget proposal and budget resolutions. On my left, we have the Town Solicitor, Michael Marcello, and we also have School Committee Chairman Jerome Larkin. What we'll do first is Administrator Carter will review the budget proposal from the Budget Committee, as well as the budget resolutions from the Budget Committee. And then we'll have Councillor Edwards review the Town Council resolutions. And then we'll open it up to any questions from the audience. And then if there's no questions or comments, we will adjourn the meeting. So I turn the meeting over to Administrator Carter.
Thank you. Tonight, I did speak to Chairman Edwards from the Budget Committee. Either members of his committee are sick, they're away, or they have had other arrangements for tonight. And I know it's a large committee, but he did ask if I could stand in his stead if he could not get here. So I will, on behalf of the Budget Committee, extol their thanks to the Town Council, to all town agencies, including the school department. They had a very, I know it was a short and abbreviated budget season for what they went through, but I know the school committee went through quite a bit of deliberations, presenting their budget to the Town Budget Committee and to the Town Council. And I know that the Town Council went through the municipal side of the budget with numerous meetings prior to the Budget Committee, which I think helped foster a good relationship between the Budget Committee and the Town Council, which helped present this budget in the manner it is today. So without ado, I'm just going to read you a snippet from how we raise the tax. So the town shall, on the town referendum day, appropriate a sum of money of $33,531,278 for school department general operating expenses, and appropriate the sum of $22,303,465 for municipal operations and capital expenditures, and levy a property tax not to exceed $42,202,471, which would be an increase of 3.1% to the prior year, which is the current year certified net levy, and includes motor vehicle taxes not to exceed $1,753,252, and a real and tangible property tax levy not to exceed $40,784,132, as recommended by the Budget Committee. I will go into some of these just very generically. We can go through. On page 1 of the docket, you can see that the debt services have gone from what would be in the current year $4,737,263 to $4,030,588, which is a 14.92% reduction. And that's primarily because there is a single piece of debt service that came finalized in this year. As far as capital expenses go, on page 3, the town currently spends $220,140, and FY23 will be $209,486. That's a negative 4.84% decrease. General government, the town clerk's budget went from $315,773 to $315,861. Town council from $128,700 to $588,857,000. And I'll make a note here, and I know somebody may ask a question about it. The significant increases as it relates to that is there are $460,157,000 attributed to 3 union contracts that are coming to fruition and will be negotiated, and the salary adjustments are situated in the council contingency until such time that those contracts are finalized and ratified. The Board of Canvassers goes from $8,100 to $29,100, and part of that is that there's a slight increase of $21,000 to the elections accounts. There will be an election this year. Town hall expenses went from $26,700 to $27,200. The legal services went from $267,500 to $320,000. The planning board stayed stable at $13,000. Zoning board of review stayed stable at $4,500. The town sergeant stayed stable at $1,000. The town administrator's office went from $194,215 to $200,549. The land use, which is the planning and building offices, went from $311,100 to $312,000 even. Probate court stayed stable at, it went up from $12,100 to $12,400. General government altogether went from $1,282,688 to $1,824,467. On the finance administration, the tax assessor's office went from $171,017 to $172,285. We have a revaluation restricted account that appropriates monies for the cyclical revals that are done. There's $55,000 appropriated for FY22. It is decreased to $50,000 for FY23. The treasurer's office went from $204,403 to $206,550. Tax collector went from $164,651 to $164,317. Tax sales stays stable at $2,000. Our insurances, which is the full breadth of all retiree health insurances for our active employees, and our liability and casualty and workers' comp insurance, went from $3,129,000 to $3,192,200. Our audit of all our town accounts stayed stable at $25,000. Our pension plans had a slight decrease from $1,409,174 to $1,326,300, and the lion's share of that reduction was predicated on the fact that the police pension had finally become up to, I believe, 90% funded. The town is appropriating for Social Security, went from $600,000 to $640,000. Our unemployment stayed stable at $15,000, and our unfunded liability for vacation and sick time is stable at $100,000. Our grand total for finance and administration went from $5,875,245 to $5,893,207 for a 0.31% increase. Under protection of property for fire department, the salaries from the fire department are $2,398,533 to $2,815,265. Their operating expenses went from $403,950 to $464,050. The total fire department is $2,802,483 to $3,279,315. And the lion's share of that is the addition of, because of state law change, that they had to add 4 new members to the fire department to mitigate overtime of anything over 42 hours. On the police department side, the salaries went from $3,078,547 to $3,398,567. The general contractual mandated expenses went from $188,000 to $196,300. Their operations went from $245,900 to $282,000. The total police department went from $3,512,747 to $3,876,867. Municipal court is stable at $18,500. Harbor Commission stayed stable at $550, and the Harbor Master's budget went from $30,235 to $31,135. The total grand total for protection of property and persons went from $6,364,515 to $7,206,367. Public Works. Salary counts went from $699,889 to $702,279. The operating expenses went from $405,800 to $451,620. Total of the general public works went from $1,105,689 to $1,153,899. Street lighting stayed stable at $75,000. Hydrant services stayed stable at $1,600. Rubbish removal went from $729,200 to $1,043,000, and the rationale for that is that the landfill is closing at the end of November. The trash will be picked up at curbside, brought to Johnston. That adds cost to the trucking, and there will be tipping fees for all of the landfill material that gets dumped there. Under our current landfill operations, it's $290,964. That number will increase to $305,762, and much of those fees will be for the. There are some additional costs that are going to be mandated as it relates to monitoring that landfill after the fact. The building office and maintenance is $120,102 to $120,617. Parks and maintenance went from $57,930 to $52,350. The grand total for public works is $2,380,485 to $2,752,228. So under associated activities, the senior center account went from $123,550 to $125,300. Economic development went from $500 to $7,710, and the lion's share of that is the fees that are associated with having a collaborative with Newport, Greater Newport, and what's the other entity? There are two entities as it relates to economic development out of the Newport Chamber. Boards and commissions went from $11,000, and by the way, those fees were originally in the council contingency fund. That's why they're transferred over to EDC. So the boards and commissions went from $11,000 to $11,200. Grand total associated activities went from $135,050 to $144,210. Civic Appropriations, which be for the visiting nurses, East Bay Collaborative, Newport County Women's Resource Center, Eastern Rhode Island Conservation, Newport County Mental Health, the Veterans Plot, Fire Rescue Community Training, Samaritans and Garden Club. It went from $14,050 to $14,550. And our library services account went from $591,000 to $603,000. Total of grants in health went from $605,050 to $617,550. Under Parks and Recreation, their account went from $72,800 to $88,000. There are a number of offsets to this budget. One is SRO school share offset for $62,000, and out of the police accounts there was some increases because of a COPS grant, but there was an offset of $83,333. And under the fire department, there's for the 4 new firemen, we're anticipating a SAFER grant of $317,800. That brings the total municipal expenses, including capital, to $22,303,465, and the total school expenditures is at $33,531,278. Grand total budget for difference between FY22, which is this year, $54,118,092 to $55,834,743. And incorporated in the Budget Committee's process they look at beyond, in order to get to the tax levy, they have to understand how much money can be generated as non-tax revenue, and that non-tax revenue amounts come from a variety of different places, whether it's the clerk's office, the Harbor Commission mooring fees, landfill revenue. We get state aid for education. We get housing aid for some of our debt service. We have beach receipts. We have camp receipts. We have motor vehicle phase-outs. We have some impact fees. We have leasing for our cell towers. We have the Tiverton Power Associates actually provides us on a tax stabilization agreement. And we have some other municipal interests such as tax collection, interest and investment incomes. And we have some minor police revenues that come in for VIN checks. So the total of all those come to, in addition to all those revenues, the Budget Committee is recommending, along with the Town Council, to offset the budget by utilizing some general fund reserves of $637,925. In addition to that, the debt service I spoke about earlier that's coming to an end this year, there's a reserve amount in that debt service. When it was generated originally, there was a requirement to put $500,000 reserve in that debt service. That reserve will come back to the town, and it's both the Town Council and the Budget Committee's recommendation to utilize those funds as well to offset taxes. So altogether, there will be non-property tax revenue of $13,632,272. What does all this mean? There's a way to calculate how the taxes are generated. So on page 19 of the budget, you can actually see how that is done. There's the school expenditures, there's the municipal expenditures, the capital expenditures for the total budget of $55,834,743. You subtract out the non-tax revenue of $13,632,272. We have to add in allowances for abatements on taxes of $25,000. You net out the motor vehicle taxes that the state is telling us that we're going to generate. It's $1,753,252, and it gives you the net levy of $40,474,219. You take that number and you divide it by the valuation of real property and tangible property in town. And that gives you a tax rate of 1461. So, and that is where we're. So I think that's where we're at.
So now you got,
Hang on. Just want to see if there's anything else I got. So there are some resolutions that the Budget Committee adopted as part of their budget package. So resolution number 1, resolved that the expense and revenue budgets, both itemized by account, that support the proposal for appropriation and tax levies, which receives a majority of votes cast by the electors at this financial town referendum, shall be adopted as the Tiverton General Fund budget for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2023. Resolve number 2, resolve that all municipal capital accounts be restricted for their intended purpose and that no transfers are authorized out of those accounts except to other municipal accounts as in a declared state of emergency. Resolve number 3, resolve that if the electors at this financial town referendum appropriate a sum for municipal operations and capital expenses that includes an amount to fund the revaluation account, said amount shall be placed in a restricted revaluation reserve account to be used solely for the purpose of funding property revaluations. Funds remaining in this restricted account at year end of June 30th of 2023 shall be carried over into the same account for fiscal year 2024. Resolved that if the number 4, resolved that if the electors at this financial town referendum appropriate a sum for municipal operations and capital expenses that includes an amount to fund the elections account, said amount shall be placed in a restricted elections reserve account to be used solely for the purpose of funding future elections, financial town referendum, and runoffs if necessary. Funds remaining in the restricted account at the end of June 30th, 2023 shall be carried over into the same account for fiscal year 2024. Resolve number 5. Resolve that account 5540-6794, paving, drainage, curbing, and sidewalks accounts shall be a restricted account to be used solely for the purpose of drainage, paving, curbing, and sidewalks. Funds remaining in this restricted account at the end of June 30th, 2023 shall be carried over into the same account for fiscal year 2024. Resolve number 6. Resolve to the extent not in conflict with the budget proposal approved of this financial town referendum, any and all revenues raised by the town through the pay-as-you-throw program in fiscal year 2023 shall be restricted for landfill closure consistent with prior years. Funds remaining in this restricted account at the end of June 30th, 2023 shall be carried over into the same account for fiscal year 2024. And I believe Councilor Edwards will take care of the town council resolutions.
Good evening. So, the town council's resolutions are: number 1, resolve that with regard to the sale of any one group of parcels within the Tiverton Industrial Park, up to and including the entire industrial park, 25% of the proceeds from each sale shall be set aside in a restricted account used solely for the purpose of developing the park, including, but not limited to, providing a town financial map for federal and state grants, development of infrastructure such as utilities or roads, or the professional engineering costs associated with such activities. Funds remaining in this restricted account at the end of June 30th, 2023 shall be carried over into the same account for fiscal year 2024. Number 2, resolve to the extent not in conflict with the budget proposal approved at this financial town referendum that 25% of any and all real estate conveyance tax funds received by the town for fiscal year 2023 shall be reserved for open space purposes under the purview of the Open Space Commission. 3, resolve that the town, once all provisions of the charter and accounting requirements are met, shall transfer out of the unexpended municipal expense appropriation determined as of June 30th, 2023, 25% into the restricted paving drainage account 5540-6794 and 25% into the restricted capital expenditure account 0980-999. 4, resolve that should the Federal Emergency Management Government Office grant for the Tiverton Fire Department, the SAFER grant, staffing for adequate fire and emergency response, grant application fail or not be approved prior to July 1st, 2022, the town will authorize the use of the on-reserve general fund to support the hiring and funding of 4 firefighters up to the amount listed in the budget docket of $317,800 for fiscal year 2023.
Thank you, gentlemen. Dr. Larkin, do you have any comments you want to make at this time?
Not really.
We got a big crowd.
Yeah, I find it best to remain quiet. Just to comment on Mr. Cotta's introduction, it was relatively intense discussion, and but I think in the end we were able to sort of arrive at a good budget, and trying to meet the needs of the town and meet the needs of the schools. So appreciate everybody's cooperation and work in that.
Thank you, Dr. Larkin. I just want to make one comment. At the town hall, we'll have dockets and sample ballots available for the public to review. Right now, I'd like to open it up to the audience for any comments or questions. right, no comments, no questions? Dan, you want to come up to the podium? You got to push the button?
Button. Is that okay?
Yep.
You can tell how often I do this. I just wanted to say, as usual, you guys did a bang-up job. Great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. Anyone else? Hearing no other comments or questions, we'll adjourn the meeting.
Before you adjourn, can you explain to those who may not know, when can they, I know the FTR is on Saturday,
Yes.
and there are a couple of days that they may be coming to town hall.
Thank you for reminding me.
People like me.
There will be absentee early voting on May 19th and May 20th. The town hall will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on both those days. That's Thursday and Friday. And then on Saturday, the FTR, Financial Town Referendum, will be at the Tiverton High School Gymnasium. Polls will open at 7 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. So please come out and vote. Meeting is adjourned.